Guys, Designhill is back again with a new webinar and how to create engaging content and grow your brand using social media. Okay, sure. I can just see your hi, guys. Thank you so much. Starting with a little introduction of Designhill again. Designhill is one of the world's largest graphic design places with over 350k plus designers registered from all around the world, served over 100k plus businesses ranging from work from home moms to MNCs like Deloitte, Microsoft, who have used our services to everything from logos to website designings to marketing collaterals like brochures, flyers. As part of our initiative to help entrepreneurs grow their business, we have launched this business growth web series with experts such as Michael Janda. He is founder of creative agency Riser. He is an award-winning creative director, designer, agency owner, and an author also. He has worked with clients like Disney, Google, Warner Bros., Fox, National Geographic, and many more. Having 23 plus years of experience, he's an author of award-winning book, Burn Your Portfolio, one of my favorite books. Also, in today's webinar, we are going to cover how to leverage social media for growing your brand, learning the difference between a linear and non-linear narrative, learn best practices for each social platform, how to plan social media long-term content, how to break social media content into short form, and many more. So, Michael, over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you today, and I'm hearing some feedback. So let me, did you just mute yours, Ashish? Okay, good. I'm excited to be with you today. Thank you for coming to this webinar. I have some great content to share with you, and I've been looking forward to this. This is actually a version of a lecture that I gave several months ago in Moscow, but there are some differences today that I'll explain to you. Now, one of the things that I want to say before we get started is that I plan to answer a lot of questions during this webinar. So there's a questions tab on the right side of the webinar screen, and feel free to ask questions in there. And I have a few breakpoints during the lecture where we'll stop and I'll jump in and answer some of your questions. So feel free to ask any questions as we go, and we'll take a couple breaks and answer those. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay, we're going to talk today about growing your brand on social media and how to create engaging content for social media. And before we dig too deep into this, let me give you a little bit of my background. This is a little video of my agency, Riser, which I sold in 2015.
Michael, I think we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, so let me go back into that slide. So I've started my agency in 2002. Our biggest client over a 13-year history was Disney. We did a lot of work for Google, for Warner Brothers, Fox Studios, ABC Television, just kind of everybody in that entertainment industry space, and a lot of companies in the tech industry like YouTube and Google were some of our bigger clients the last couple of years of our agency. I also wrote the book, Burn Your Portfolio, which it started as an employee manual for my employees when I was growing my agency, and then it evolved and became a bigger thing. And that's published in multiple different languages, in 2 forms of Chinese and in Russian and in English. And then recently, a few months ago, my new book, The Psychology of Graphic Design Pricing, was published and is available. You can buy that book on Amazon. And if you want to know more about me, that's just a short summary. You can go to my site, michaeljanda.com, or follow me on social media at morejanda. And I did want to just shout out my YouTube channel, where I'm systems and strategies for creative freelancers and agencies. And you can go to michaeljanda.com/YouTube or youtube.com/morejanda. And then the final shout out I'll do, because it leads into what I'm going to be talking about today, is my Instagram channel, which is instagram.com/morejanda, or you can just search me on Instagram at morejanda. I share at least 6 times a week microblogs, tutorial videos, inspirational information, system strategies for designers. And my Instagram has grown from April 1st, excuse me, from April 1st until today, which is now 36,000 followers. So it's grown 1,000 followers in the last day. But I went from 750 followers on Instagram to over 36,000 followers in 3.5 months. And today in this webinar, I'm going to break down my process of how I've done this on Instagram and how it can work for any different type of social channel that you want to explore. So it's very valuable information, and it works. Now, I'll tell you, when I gave this similar lecture in Moscow, it was when I had 750 followers, and my whole lecture was about how to grow on social media. And after the lecture, I thought, man, I really need to, we've done this for our clients, I really need to do this for myself and create an example of my own brand growing. And so for the last 3.5 months since that lecture, I've been focused on growing this social channel, and this is, the proof is in the pudding. These processes work. So let's go back in time to the year 2000. I was working at Fox Studios. I was a creative director at Fox Studios in the year 2000. And the average attention span for a person was 12 seconds. And you fast forward to 2018, where now we have cell phones in our pockets and we're looking at our social media every day. The average person looks at their phone 150 times a day. So it's 80 to 300 times a day. And the average attention span has gone from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. So this is a 33% decrease in the attention span of the user. So things have changed dramatically since the cell phone became such a prominent part of our lives. And what's interesting about this is from a study that Microsoft did. The average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So technically, a goldfish has more attention span than a human in today's society. So the declining attention span is a big issue for marketing, and it changes the way that we need to market our products and services. And social media has such a huge piece. It's such a huge piece of marketing today. The declining attention span has this effect on marketing. There's no time for somebody to consume all the content. So this is something we have to understand. People aren't going to read or watch all of your content. The overwhelming content gets skipped completely. If it looks too time consuming, people just pass it by and go to the next element. This is why things like TikTok are so popular now, because it's it's all crammed into the 8-second, 15-second little piece of content, because that's all anybody has time for. So if it looks overwhelming, it gets skipped completely. The delivery speed matters. So the technical delivery on how fast you get your user to the content matters, and the hook matters. Those first 8 seconds, when you're trying to hook your user into your content so that they stick around a little longer, they matter a lot. So these are the 4 big components of the effect that a declining attention span is having on marketing. So we've got to change the way that we market. And I'm going to show you how to do that here today. So until 10 years ago, when cell phones became popular and social media became popular, people were all trained to think in a linear narrative. We're trained this way from the time that we're children, and we're reading books. And you start on page 1 and you end on the final page of the book. And a book has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is known in marketing terms as a linear narrative. It's a sequential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 linear process. Now, this is how we learned how to tell stories, but things have changed, and marketers are responsible for telling a brand story. So if we take this analogy of a book and we transition this into what we're doing in marketing, we're telling a brand story, and a brand does not have a beginning, a middle, or an end. So we need to be thinking and acting different in the way that we tell stories. A brand story is more like this in 2018, 2019, where somebody comes and they get a little snippet of your content on Facebook, and then they bounce over to your Instagram, and then they read something on your website, and then they go to your Pinterest account, and then they watch a video on YouTube, and the user journey just spirals through all of this different content. And if you see, this user path is not linear at all. It looks a little bit more like this, where it's just this big bowl of spaghetti, and you're just stirring it around, hoping that somebody lands on what you want them to land on. Now, this is known as a non-linear narrative. Now, any of you who have studied marketing in the past know that marketing, there's something that's very popular in marketing, and it's called the marketing funnel. The marketing funnel looks like this, where you start at the top, where you're building awareness, and then you create interest, and then the potential customer starts to consider your product. And then there's intention to act on it, and then they evaluate the product, and then they purchase. So this is the marketing funnel, the traditional marketing funnel. As you can see, this is a linear process. But marketing has changed. Marketing must change because of the changes in the way that we consume and process content. Okay, so this is the introduction of what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to give you some systematic processes on how to do this effectively. But we're going to take a quick break here and see if there are any questions that we want to answer right now. So I'm going to jump out of the presentation and go into the questions. We've got a couple. Where will the recording be of the webinar? I can't watch for long today. So that I don't know. Do you know, Ashit?
Yeah, I guess we would be sharing the replay of this webinar on our YouTube channel, and also we'll send a draft copy of this webinar on everyone's email. So you'll be able to get that again.
Yes, and then there's another question here too about the keynote presentation will be provided afterwards for download. Yes, I have a link at the end of the presentation. You'll be able to download all of the slides that are in this presentation. So you can jot down a few notes if you have them while you're going, and if you want to wait and just download the whole presentation, I'll give you a link at the end.
So Michael, Brady is asking here, how has marketing changed from the last funnel?
From the last funnel? Well, it's
Yeah.
not so much a funnel. There's still people still have the you create awareness and then you try and build them into intention to buy. But I am going to show you how things have changed, and it comes from a system that Google developed, a methodology called micro moments, and I'll show you how that what that means and how it's done here in just a couple of minutes. There's a question in here too that I do want to answer. Is there a way to have more
Can you
followers?
just start the live answer?
What's that?
I'm so sorry to interrupt you in between. Can you just click on the start live answer? It becomes easy for the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So is there a way to have more followers without paying? Absolutely 100% yes. I have not paid for any followers on my social channels. There's not one robot follower that I've purchased. I've never gone and said, okay, I want to buy 5,000 followers. It's all organic, real growth from real people. Now, that being said, I'm sure that there are bots that follow my thing, but it's not because I paid for them. It's just because of their bot engine or whatever. But this is how to build a social audience with real techniques. And to be honest, I'm not even using any of the techniques that people say to like tag people in your post or anything. I'm just providing valuable content and letting the audience share it, and that's the strategy. So it's the real way to build a social audience.
Michael, I have a question here. So usually what happens, so obviously we can see that people are asking, so if I'm a beginner, how to begin with that? Israr here is saying that your followers might have increased because you are already famous on YouTube and other social sites. I cannot agree more on this, but the point is, when actually you are starting with something, people who are looking forward to your Instagram account because you are trying to do something big, but then people usually consider the number of followers that you have. Like, that is the first impression that people see on an Instagram account. How to cope up with this particular situation when you are doing something big, and it usually takes time to build things, right? But then, if you're taking time and you want people to trust on this, how do you create that mindset and how do you bring the trust issues in these people?
So when you repeat the question, just and try and distill it down to one sentence, please.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, when you are starting, like when you're beginning this thing of doing a big thing, let's say you're starting a startup, right? In this initial stages of doing a startup, and you also want to be a big motivational speaker, but then when you are beginning with your Instagram account, what initially a person sees is the number of followers. That's why this question came, that usually people are saying that you can get some bot IDs you can follow, and then you have a number of fake followers in your account, but obviously we see there is no more amount of engagement in that. How to build trust in these guys?
You have to keep grinding. You've got to post even though you don't have engagement. You've got to post even though you don't have followers. You've got to ignore that at the start, and you just try and give value. Don't worry about it for now. You've got to give value and push through those early times when people don't seem to be engaging with your followers or with your content. Followers are built one person at a time. It's not built thousands at a time. So you got to push through that beginning phase. So it's a great question, and hopefully that's an answer. I do want to answer this question here that says your followers may have increased because you're already famous on YouTube and other social sites. How a beginner can grow this followers. I wasn't famous on YouTube or Instagram or anything like that. I mean, 3.5 months ago, I had 750 followers. So there was no fame leading into this. I did have people who had read my book in the past, but my YouTube audience still isn't very big. I only have 1,200 followers or something on YouTube. I haven't been pushing that as hard as I have Instagram over the last 3.5 months. So you can start, 3.5 months ago, I had 750 followers on Instagram. It wasn't, I started with fame. Now, it grows exponentially over time. This is very important. The time it takes you to get from 300 followers to 600 followers it may take you less time to get from 600 followers to 1,200 followers. And 1,200 followers to 3,000 followers may take you less time than 300 to 600. The point is that it grows exponentially. The more people who are following you, the more circulation you get of your content, and it grows more quickly. It's just like investment strategies. You start investing money into mutual funds or the stock market or something when you're 20 years old, and it grows much bigger by the time you're 60 because of exponential growth. And it's the same principles I've seen apply to social media following. All right.
There's also one question that Ms. Love Bognar is asking: with what we should start to more successfully catch those 8 seconds? Adding a little point in this, do you think that content is also more important here? Do you feel that content is also important for those first 8 seconds?
Yeah, so that first 8 seconds, that hook, getting that hook is so important. And I am going to give you some ideas on that, but I'll give you a quick answer for this. At the start of a lot of my content, I try and have either an engaging first slide, if I'm doing like a microblog where I'm sliding through 10 different slides to teach a principle. I try and make sure that that first slide has some imagery on it, that it has a compelling headline that will make people want to click and see that content. So that first 8 seconds is that first slide. And then on video, you'll see, if you watch a lot of my videos on Instagram, that a lot of times I'll do a quick little intro. I'll either pull a little sound bite out of the later portion of the video and stick it into the beginning, and then run my logo sizzle, and then go into the longer video. And that the whole point of that is trying to create that hook at the start. So put your most valuable message at the very, very beginning, and then you've hooked the people, and you want to try and flow them through the rest of the content. But try and get that first piece be the most valuable piece of content. Don't wait. A lot of times, if you think in a linear narrative, a book, you start reading a book or a movie and it builds to a climax. And we've gone to the movies and we sit down and we know we're going to give Avengers Endgame, we're going to give them 3 hours to get to the climax of the movie. We've already committed to that. But in social media world and in marketing world in general, people don't give you 3 hours like they do a Marvel movie. They're giving you 8 seconds. So if you're going to do this, you can't build to a climax. You've got to start with the climax. So give them the big payoff right at the beginning, and then show them the movie afterwards, the longer form content. And some of this will make a little bit more sense here in a minute as we dig into some of this content. Okay, let's jump back into the presentation. I'm sure I see a lot of new questions coming in, and we'll jump in and answer those. Feel free to upvote questions in there. I see that you can do that in the system. So upvote questions that you really want answered, and we'll hit those first as we get going in our next QA break. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned this a little bit in one of the answers. So Google, in a few years ago, coined the phrase micro moments. And this is an important term to understand when we're looking at this attention deficit audience that we're trying to attract and trying to market to. So these micro moments are the moments that occur when people reflexively turn to their device. And if you think about yourself, when you're standing in line, the first thing you do is you pull out your phone. When you sit down, if you're by yourself and you sit down to eat your lunch, you're pulling out your phone. If you're at a red light and you hit a red light, you're driving your car, you're looking at your phone. If you're in a taxi, you're looking at your phone. It's these moments when, okay, I'm bored, I'm looking at my phone. These are the micro moments that we're trying to capture as marketers. And Google showed us they broke these micro moments down into 4 different categories. They have the I want to know moments. And this is when somebody is exploring or researching, but they're not necessarily in purchase mode or action mode. And a lot of these micro moments that we have on our phone are I want to know moments. We're just researching something. There are the I want to go moments when someone is looking for a local business or they're considering buying a product at a store. They want to go to it. And so we jump to our phone and we hit an address or we do a search in Google Maps and we go to that go moment. We're going somewhere. There are the I want to do moments when someone wants to help completing a task or trying something new. I want to do moments. And then the final one is the I want to buy moments. These are when someone is ready to make a purchase and they need help deciding what to buy or how to buy it. So let's go back to our spaghetti of the audience that we're marketing to now. And we have I want to know, I want to go, and I want to do, and I want to buy moments all over this flow. So somebody may start on Facebook with they want to know something about a certain brand, and then they get into there and they click on something that goes to a website, and it's all of a sudden they're in a I want to buy mode. So we're breaking down, and I'll show you how this is done. We're going to break down content into these 4 categories: know, go, do, and buy. These micro moments that we're trying to capture. Now, marketers have to redefine the narrative of their brand story. And we do this by understanding when people are consuming content. And the when is going to help us understand the time frame that we have to market to these people. So I'm going to break this down for you here. Did you know, and you probably didn't, and it's a scary statistic, but 88% of people use their cell phone when they're driving. Now, hopefully it's when they stop at a red light and they're looking at their cell phone, but 88% while they're driving. 82% while they're waiting. So if you're waiting in line, or you're waiting for your food at a restaurant, or you're waiting for a movie to start, or waiting on your spouse to meet you, or whatever it might be, you're waiting, 82% of people are using their cell phone. 75% of people use their cell phone in the restroom, and 95% of people use their cell phone to consume content before bed. So let's take these 4 different categories of when people consume content, and let's go and break them down into time constraints. And this will help you understand what we're going to do with our content strategy here in a minute on creating engaging social media content. So while driving, I estimate that people are giving you a 1 to 30 second window of content consumption. They're driving in their car and they stop at a red light and they have 8 seconds and they look at their phone for those 8 seconds. You have 8 seconds to interact with that person in that micro moment. Now, while waiting, you're waiting in line at a store, you're waiting at a restaurant, you're waiting for somebody to meet you. Usually that's a 1 to 3 minute category. Using the restroom, a 4 to 7 minute category. And then before bed, a 15 minute category of when people are consuming content. So now what we've done in this section, we'll break for I answer a few more questions, but what we've done in this section is we're taking this linear narrative of traditional marketing, and now we're breaking it into this spaghetti mess that we really have, and we're taking it and we're breaking it into I want to know, go, do, and buy moments. Those are the 4 micro moments, and we've categorized them based on certain time constraints. And the next section that we're going to go into after we break for a few questions is how do we create the content that goes into these different buckets. And I'm going to show you a systematic way to do that. So let's break for a few questions here. And before we jump into questions, let me just give a little shout out to Designhill. Designhill is one of the world's leading graphic design marketplaces, having helped over 100,000 businesses source high quality designs at affordable prices. So if you're looking to hire freelance designers or are looking for a logo, website design, or any other type of design, you can just visit the website designhill.com. And I'm grateful to be here. This presentation was organized by Designhill, so I'm grateful for the audience that they've gathered to have this information available to you. Everybody at Designhill that I've interacted with has been just great, tremendous people. So I've really enjoyed working with them leading up to this. Okay, let's jump into some QA time. Let's see.
This question has been most upvoted by Nag. If you can just see that. What app or program do you use to make the videos?
To make my videos, I use Adobe Premiere to edit my videos, and that's my tool of choice. I also subscribe to Epidemic Sounds, which is a monthly subscription for audio tracks, for music tracks, and I've loved that tool as well. They got a lot of great music available that I intermingle in with my videos.
Awesome. Any other question that you want to take, Mike? Okay, Michael, I just wanted to ask one question. The data that you just presented, that 93 or 94% of people use their mobile when they're in restroom. I guess that was I just wanted to know what is the source of this data.
Let me go back and check my notes from my presentation.
Doesn't matter. Like that is based on your own research that you did, correct?
No, it's not research. No, it was research that I did. It was an article, and it was a sorry, I forgot to shout that out. Let me go back to
Guys, you can ask any question. We are just take out all the secrets that Michael is hiding.
Okay, I don't have that. I don't have my source in my notes from this, but I'll find them and post it. Maybe I can shoot you a message of the data source, and you could post it with in an aftermath of this or something. But it was from I will say it was from a respectable article. I'll have to find my source notes from when I put the presentation together in the first place.
Because the reason that I was asking, because there are various number of websites that show numerous amount of stats, and they have their own trustable sources. But then when a person is finally analyzing things on his own, then he needs to research for 4 to 5 other websites to get a proper data, and then whether he can rely it or not. So that's
okay. Well, here let me answer that question by asking you. Do you disagree with these stats? Let's take that for a second, because 88% of people while driving, if you ask your friends, I'm sure it's probably pretty accurate. 82% while waiting, I would say that that's maybe not accurate, because it's probably more like 100% and not 82%. 75% while using the restroom, also probably not accurate. It's probably more like 85 or 90%. And then this last one, before bed, 95%. That's probably the most accurate statistic on here of all those. So in my perception, I think if anything, these statistics are actually lower than reality and not higher than reality.
But I do actually fall in the 75% of subscription-based people who are using their mobile in restrooms.
Yes, it's an unfortunate statistic, but ask around, do your own independent survey, and I'm sure that you'll find that it's probably pretty accurate.
Let's just see another question that people are asking.
Okay, right? Let's answer a couple questions off of here.
Which social media? Can you just scroll down to this question of Anne Richard? He's got 10 upvotes on it.
Okay. Which social media do you think is more relevant? Okay. So which social media do you think is the most relevant right now? It depends on who you're marketing to. Because somebody I saw in one of the things that said Pinterest, is Pinterest even a viable social media channel? Well, it for sure is for a home decorator, or for a furniture company, or for a fashion brand. Pinterest is probably one of their main social medias. So it depends. Instagram and YouTube are probably the dominant choice for a lot of different brands, I would say, just because of the versatility of what you can do in that environment with video. So I think that those two rise to the top. I think every business should have a Facebook destination, and a lot of businesses don't need a website as much as they need a Facebook page for their business. So I think that there's importance in that. But so anyway, I think the short answer is it depends on who your target customer is and what the content of your brand is, determines which social channel is the most relevant one for you. For me, Instagram and YouTube are the predominant ones that I'm trying to leverage, and more than any, Instagram right now, just because my momentum on Instagram is so high. Okay, we want to answer. Let's answer another one that got upvoted pretty high.
Okay, there's this.
Here's one that has 7. So
yes,
okay, we already answered that one. Here, let's just grab, this one has 9, which, we answered that one. Let's answer this one. Besides providing valuable content on Instagram, what else goes into your Instagram strategy to boost your reach to new people? It's not a targeted piece of my strategy. It's a takeaway that happens naturally. But if you create something that is shareable, then that expands your audience tremendously. A lot of my content, people will share it in their Instagram story, or they'll tag a friend in the comments because it's relevant to a challenge that they're having, and they share it. And then all of a sudden I'm getting new followers just because they tagged their friends or they shared it in their channel. So that makes a big difference in that. Another one, and it's not intentional also, but it's an organic thing. I'm doing a lot of collaboration videos with different people, and some of them have really high followers and some of them have low followers. To me, it doesn't matter so much. I'm trying to engage with people. One of my best video series that I did was with somebody in Australia, G'day Frank. And he had, when we did the video, it was like he had like 400 followers or something on his Instagram, but he was great on the video. He asked a lot of great questions. I cut those into video snippets, and it did really well. It was very shareable content. So I don't look so much for trying to partner with people with huge audiences to try and get a bigger audience for myself. Again, it's back to just creating valuable content, because I'm happy to get 10 new followers off of a piece of content just as much as I am to get 1,000 new followers off of a piece of content. Because the truth is that I'm focused on helping people on an individual basis. I'm not trying to think, oh, I want a massive audience. What I want and what makes me happy with what I'm doing right now in my career is I love to answer a direct message and help that one person. I was on a DM last night with somebody in Nigeria who's really been struggling with his business and some of the challenges inside of his family. And I was very happy to be the support person on the other end. And so it's one at a time. And if you think about that, I think that's such an important principle. Think about it as individual people. And when you're marketing any product, think about, I'm trying to sell this one person. I'm trying to get this product because it's going to benefit them. I'm trying to get it into their hands, one person at a time if I have to. And if you have that mindset, it can really change your perspective. Who cares if your Instagram post only had 100 likes and 4 comments? One of those 4 comments could have been somebody that it really had a big impact on their day, and you should feel good about that. Let the audience grow a little over time, but concentrate on helping people on an individual basis. Okay, let's jump into, again, we'll jump back into the presentation. Feel free to upvote questions that you want answered in there, and we'll jump out of this here in a minute and answer a few more questions. This next section is kind of the meat of this presentation, where I really go into how you create this content and break it into these different buckets. So let's jump into that. So how to market content for these micro moments. This is what we're going to dig into. So again, as a reminder, we have I want to know, go, do, and buy moments. And we've broken these down into these time constraints, these 4 different time constraints. And this is the structure for our content planning. So we're going to go into how to create long form content first. Now, the importance of creating long form content. Now, long form content versus short form content is the big difference. Long form content is 1,200 plus words. So, and there you'll find different ranges if you do a search. 500 to 4,000 words is what I found in a few pieces of research, but I settled on this 1,200 plus words. Now, long form content, it could be a book, it could be an ebook, it could be a website article, like a blog article on your website. These are all versions of long form content. It could be a 15-minute long video. That's a version of long form content. Or going back to the Marvel Endgame movie, it could be a 3-hour piece of long form content. Now, the benefits of long form content. Now, this kind of goes against what I was talking about with micro moments, but I'll show you here in how this is all going to come together in a minute. The benefits of long form content and building long form content first is that long form content gets search engine attention. Instagram, YouTube, they favor content that is longer versus content that is shorter. The algorithms favor longer content because the goal of these destinations is to keep their users on the platform. So they're gonna promote your 3-minute video has a better chance of getting promoted than your 15-second video on these different platforms, because they want people to engage with the 3-minute video. So you get search engine attention or algorithm attention for this long form content. It's increased time on your site, which is really valuable, goes along with point number 1. The goal of your website, of your social destinations, is to engage your audience and keep them on there. It gives you proof of authority and expertise, and social sharing. Like, people are more apt to share long form content. It's more likable, it's more shareable than short form content oftentimes. And then this one I love, and it goes hand in hand with something I was just talking about. It's more value to the reader, to the consumer. There's an altruistic nature. You're giving a lot of value in long form content So there's a feel-good component that's a benefit to you. And then number 6 is that it's the foundation for a campaign. So let's look at this. This is the SERP IQ survey of the top 10 search results and the average content length in those. This is inside of Google. This is Google data. So you can see here the number 1 search result in Google has average content length of over 2,450. The number 2 has 2,500 or 2,475 or so. And then all the way down to number 10 still has over 2,000 words. So the average top 10 results in Google have long form content as the thing. So again, this is just evidence to the fact that Google, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, they all are favoring higher length of time content because it keeps the users engaged longer. So that's something that's important and why we start with long form content. Let me give you an example from my site. A number of years ago, we were on a trip in Hawaii and we met Will Smith on the beach in Hawaii. And I took my older boys and we went and talked with him, and it was awesome. We didn't bother him too long, but I wrote a blog article called 10 Things I Learned About Charisma during 2 minutes with Will Smith. And I posted this on my website. Now, the average time spent on my website on this article is 14 minutes and 37 seconds. It has 1,856 words. The average time spent on the entire rest of my website is 2 minutes and 34 seconds. So this is my own little piece of evidence of the value and importance of long form content, starting with that long form content. So let's talk about how to create long form content. And then I'm going to show you how to break that long form content into micro moment content. So how to create long form content. First, you define the goals. What are the goals of this content? Do you want somebody to purchase a product? Do you want to educate them on a certain topic? Do you want to teach them how to do something, to a tutorial, something like that? Define what is your goal. Do you want them to develop brand loyalty with the product that you're selling? Then you choose a topic, and it's important to choose a keyword-rich topic. A keyword-rich topic is something that people are searching for. See, there are different search tools, keyword search tools that you can use. Google has a free search tool that you can do keyword searching. So just do a little search on Google for keyword research, and you'll find a way to search for valuable keyword topics. Then you either hire a writer or you learn how to write. This is something important. And then use plenty of pictures and sections to make it easy to scan. So you don't want to have this big long piece of long form content that somebody can't go and just skim through and hit certain points. So break it into sections and use images to make it more engaging. Now, long form content is extremely important, even though your audience has attention deficit disorder. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to show you how to dissect this long form content into snackable pieces. Now, my strategy on Instagram comes from this. I have my book, Burn Your Portfolio, my book, The Psychology of Graphic Design Pricing. I also have 13 years of business systems and experiences that I developed while growing my agency. Those three things are my long form content. And most of my content that I share on Instagram is little pieces, little snippets of that content, those long form pieces of content. Now, I understand that I am in an advantage to many of you because I already have all this content that I developed over time. In hindsight, I wish that I would have known this before, but I started most of my content before social media even was a thing. But I wish I would have understood that you can create long form content with the intention of breaking it into smaller bite-sized pieces. It would have probably changed the way that I developed some of my content in the past. That's how I do it now. So that's a little insider trick. Okay, let's go into how do we break this down into these snackable pieces. And let me give you an example of what I mean by snackable pieces. A few years ago, Google came to our agency. They had several different articles they had created with Harvard Business Review. And they wanted to publish these articles on Harvard Business Review. And you can see each of the articles are listed right here. Like I said, you can look at that they're scannable. There's an image, there's a headline, and there's different sections on each one. So they had these articles and they came to us and they said, we have these articles, it's all long form content. We want you to break this content into snackable pieces. Now, for those of you who don't understand what snackable means, this is a meal right here, and this is a snack. So if we take that analogy and we say, okay, long form content is the meal, and short form content is the snack or the snackable content. So we're trying to take the meal and we're break it down into these little tiny pieces. So this is how that's done. You start by building a long piece of long form content, and then you scan the long form content looking for subtopics, data and metrics, list items, engaging quotes, anything that can be extracted into short form content. So this is something that is important. So then you go down, you scan and you look for those things. And then you go to step 2 and you plan general content ideas based on the time buckets. Now, if we go back to our breakdown of the time buckets, we have these different time buckets on the bottom, 1 to 30 seconds, 1 to 3 minutes, 4 to 7 minutes, and 15 minutes plus. We're going to take these snackable content ideas and we're going to plan them based on these time buckets. 1 to 30 seconds, 1 to 3 minutes, 4 to 7, and 15 plus. And I broke those into small, medium, large, and extra large. So these are our different content categories: small, medium, large, extra large. So let's go, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different ideas of what you can do inside of these time buckets to create content. So 1 to 30 seconds, this is small, and it would be appropriate content for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, all this short form content. And it could be video teasers or social posts. And I'm going to show you a great example that I love from McDonald's YouTube website. Check this out. This is a video teaser from the McDonald's YouTube site. It's 11 seconds long. It's a small piece of content. You can see my little legend here. Small, and it's a buy, and it's a go, going back to our micro moments. So each of these examples I'm going to give you is categorized based on the micro moments and the quantity of time in the time bucket. So this is a small with a buy and a go. So here's this video, 11 seconds long. Let's watch what they did. That's it. I love this video series. They have a whole bunch of these. It's called the Menu Remix series. This was number 60, where they take their product and they just give you an 11-second little interesting little version. And to be honest, I'm a little hungry right now, and sticking French fries on top of a hamburger actually looked really good. So that's a great little marketing piece, an 11-second long micro moment style piece of content that was not their entire menu. It was just one idea. Here's one from Infinity Car Company, a social post showing off a product feature. So this is 8 to 10 seconds. And the tweet on Twitter was this: Infinity's available Bose sound system are tuned to the unique interior dynamics of every model, meaning your music always sounds great. What song gets you excited behind the wheel? So this is a small, it's a no and a go style post. Here's another great one on Pinterest from Starbucks. This one was, I estimated, was about a 20-second digestion, and I loved this. Cup art. They have all these different examples of cup art on the Starbucks Pinterest web destination, where people draw or paint on their Starbucks cup. And what a cool way to engage with their audience and give them a cool idea of something to do with their Starbucks cup. Great branding by Starbucks in that. Here's one from IBM. It's a social post. It's 5 seconds. Growth and comfort never coexist. So this is a quote. Again, if we're taking long form content, this may have been something that Ginny Rometty said during a piece of long form content, but it was extracted and stuck into IBM's Instagram as a pulled out extracted quote. NVIDIA did the same. This is another social post, and this was one capitalizing on a trend that it was when the Oscars, the movie awards, were coming out. 7 seconds to read 10 years of Oscar-nominated films for Best Visual Effects are powered by Quadro GPUs. So this is an interesting way to hijack a trend and incorporate it into your social media. So these are all examples of small content. Let's go into the bucket of medium length content. And I'll go a little bit more quickly on these. You can download this presentation afterwards so that you can examine these more closely. So here we have medium content is 1 to 3 minutes that somebody's going to give you. And this would be landing pages, blog articles, or medium length videos. So here's an example of a landing page from Airbnb about how to earn extra money on Airbnb, and it gives you hosting in 3 steps. I estimate that this content takes about 3 minutes to consume. Here's a blog article from Adidas, quick tips for staying safe and warm in the cold. So they wrote a blog article. It's on Adidas's website, and it takes about 2 minutes to process this content. Here's one that I loved. I won't show you the whole video. It's 1 minute and 18 seconds. It's a quick video from BMW about their parking assist capabilities in their car.
Parking assistant, including linear guidance, can park the vehicle completely automatically, parallel or perpendicular to the street. The system works by measuring potential spaces while driving past them at low speed. The parking assistant menu.
Okay, we'll jump past that. It's 1 minute long, but it's a great little way to show one feature of the car. Now, if we take this from a marketing standpoint, there is a brochure about the car. They have it. You go in to purchase a car and you can get their brochure. There's a website about the car. It's long form content. It's going to show you every feature and every detail of the car. There is the owner's manual for the car. That's the long form content. But the parking assist feature is just one little piece. It's one little section that was sucked out of that other long form content and turned into a piece of snackable content. And this is what we're trying to do to capitalize on these micro moments and create this non-linear path. Okay, let's talk about large content, 4 to 7 minutes, videos that are long, blog articles that are long, infographics, and case studies are all things that are long form content. So Nike has a lot of great long form content video on their YouTube channel. This is one where they just highlight one of their athletes. It's a 5-minute video of this biker. She's just telling her story. And then obviously in Nike format, it's a feel-good moment of a just do it kind of piece of content, inspiring people. Let's jump to this next one, a blog article on Anthropologie. I love this one, to think outside the box a little bit. So Anthropologie sells clothing, and they have a blog that talks about adventure. It says a trip to Paris with a certain influencer. So a trip to Paris with Zoe Laz. And it's trip advice, but this influencer shares the clothes that she wore made by Anthropologie during her trip. So this is a really interesting way to have Anthropologie give content that's interesting to the user. It's not all about here's my clothes and here's why they're great. It's about here's my clothes in the real world and how good you'll look when you're traveling Paris in my Anthropologie dress. So this is a great example. You don't have to create content always that's exactly just about your company. Think of ways to break out of that and capitalize on other interests that your users might have. Here's one from Coca-Cola, infographic. It's 5 to 7 minutes long, and it's Coca-Cola at a glance, and it's the whole history of Coca-Cola Company and their different brands and some of the statistics of their business. So this is a great piece of long-form content, or it's large content. It's still short-form, snackable content in that 4, 5, 6, 7 minute bucket. And then finally, we have the case study. This is how Instagram helps build brand awareness for Levi's. So this is another interesting piece of content on how to show how your brand helps another brand. Can be a good piece of content using a case study. Okay, let's go to the last one, extra large bucket. These are the 15-minute plus. Now, if you remember, our big bucket is the 95% of people before bed are looking at their phone. And this is the moment when they're giving you the 15 minutes of their time. And a lot of times that 15 minutes comes from something they saw earlier that was a 1-minute piece of content. They save it and they go back to it at night to look at it more deeply. I do this all the time. I email myself articles all the time. I don't have time to read it now. I email myself the article and I read it when I have my 15 minutes of downtime or more. So extra large content are extra long videos, they're ebooks, they're white papers, or the original long form content also falls into this extra large category. So BMW on their YouTube channel has these mini movies and they use celebrities on them. This is Clive Owen in a video that's all about like an action film. So it's 20 minutes long. Now, most people aren't going to give you 20 minutes unless it's that before bedtime. So you've got to hook these people. And you can see at the beginning here, this starts just like a movie would. I'm engaged. I see a couple celebrities that are popular. I'm like, what is this? And now there's an explosion and there's a police officer and it looks intense. This is going to capture people and you're going to get a chance of capturing somebody for 20 minutes on this. But it doesn't say buy a BMW. It's just using the BMW car in a cool format that helps people build some brand awareness and brand loyalty. All right, so let's jump over here to an example of an ebook. This is one from Hootsuite, the Social Media Data Cookbook, and it's a downloadable ebook on Hootsuite's website. And then here's another white paper on HubSpot. That's a 15-minute thing, a practical approach to emerging tech for small, medium businesses. And then again, obviously the original long form content. Okay, so right here, before we take another break on QA, this is an important slide right here. So you'll want to download the presentation just for this. But this is the breakdown of the small, medium, and large, the time, and then the locations, and then the different types of content that you could create for each of these different channels. That's a breakdown of this last batch of slides. Okay, so let's take a quick break, and then I'm going to go into a little more detail on showing you how to do that, how to break it into content ideas. So let's see, can you hear me, Ashish? Ashish?
Yes, yes. Yes, Michael, I can hear you perfectly. That was a brilliant collection of the information about all the companies that I saw.
Very interesting. Some people are doing some great content for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to jump into a few. Is it necessary to adapt a unique style on Instagram like all of your Instagram posts are yellow? Branding, branding, branding. You've got to create brand awareness. And when people are only giving you 8 seconds at the most, you want to capture them. So you can see I use yellow and black and white and gray, but most of my posts, you'll see a lot of black and yellow. And when somebody's skimming through their content, they can easily see one of my posts and see, oh, that's a Mike Janda post, because they recognize the colors. So a good brand owns a color. So pick a color and go all in on using that. So yes, choosing a brand color, very important to do to create brand awareness. All right, let's jump into another one, see if we got one with upvoted. Start live answer. Is the time of day important to take note when to post? Yes, they say. The bigger your audience, the less important that is. If you have a global audience, then you have certain quantity of your users that are, I have a lot of people who follow me from India, and I have a lot of people from Australia and from the United States. So if I post any time of the day, it's likely a valid time for some group of my audience. So it's not as important. But if you look at Instagram, most social channels will give you some insights. They'll give you data. And Instagram's insights are really valuable. If you create a business Instagram profile, you can see the insights, and it will tell you when your most engaged time is in the day. It gives you, in your audience tab, it gives you a breakdown of when your most engaged time is. And mine is from 9 a.m. to noon my time. But it doesn't go down very much past that. It'll also tell you when your biggest days are. My biggest day is Thursday for engagement on my content. So if I was watching that very closely, I would say, okay, I'm going to save my best content for Thursday so that it gets the most engagement. But to be honest, I don't do that. I create my content and I post it on the day that I feel most inspired to post a certain piece of content. And what I love is that a lot of times people will message me and say, oh, this came to me at just the right time. I'm so thankful. I was just working on this, or I was just struggling with this today. So when that happens, for me, that's more important than reaching a bigger audience. I'm trying to reach the people who really need the content right now to help them through a challenge. So yes and no on that.
Michael, one question here. As you told me that like you have most engagement on Thursdays, correct?
Yes.
Just wanted to know, how did you measure that? Like, did you use any tool, or is there any related notification?
Yeah, Instagram's insight tool is built into an Instagram business profile, and it gives you the data. So it shows you little bar graphs and tells you your biggest day, it tells you your biggest hours, and you can see the data in there. And it's really, really good, really easy to use. So get familiar if you're trying to build an audience on Instagram, get familiar with the insights component that gives you some data on that. Yeah.
And as per the people who are engaging, a minute question that I would like to ask. We just want to know how should we grow our brand, correct? But the point is, when we are explaining things and we are, when you are telling about this presentation, what's the right set of target audience that we used to decide? That is, either do we have to consider several parameters before deciding the right set of target audience, or what is it?
So you do need to decide on a target audience, and in marketing we use personas to decide on a certain target audience. And a persona is built on both demographics and psychographics. I have a little post in my Instagram called The Perfect Personas, I think. So if you scroll down, it was maybe 2 months ago that I posted that. But creating a persona is really, really important. So you want to create 3 to 5 different personas for your target audience. And it's people who are the best potential consumer of your content. So for me, I don't even have 3 to 5. Mine are probably, I may have 3. I don't have 5, but mine are junior designers who are getting started in their career. That's one of my target. And from a demographic standpoint, they're probably 20 to 25 years old. From a psychographic standpoint, they're just trying to figure it out. They're a little nervous. They don't know what they're doing. They have some design education, but they are trying to get their first job or trying to freelance, and they're trying to figure it out. That's one of my target personas. One of my other target personas is agency owners who own a small agency. They have, maybe it's just them, but they consider themselves an agency, or they have 1 to 3 employees or a couple of contractors that they work with. And they're trying to figure out, how do I grow into a bigger agency, a more established agency? Their demographics for those people are usually probably 25 to 35 years old. Their psychographics are, they're good designer, but they don't know the business side of things. They're trying to learn. So I'm targeting those people and trying to give them business tools to help them expand and grow their agency. So that's a demographic and a psychographic for my 2 core personas. So with any brand, you want to do this. You want to go and say, okay, who are the 3 people that are the potential buyers? What's their age? What are their fears? What are they like? What are other brands that they have an affinity for? Do they go to Starbucks every morning? Do they they love Nike clothes? Who knows what it is? You've got to try and define what that is so that you can speak to those people. So that's a very important piece. And then one huge thing on marketing is that you talk to your audience and you don't care about anybody else. And I can tell you, when I changed my Instagram, it used to be my family photos and things. And if you scroll back a few months, you'll see a bunch of beach photos and Disneyland photos and things of me and my kids. And when I changed my strategy on April 1 to go all in on these personas, my wife's uncle unfollowed me. And I was like, oh man, he unfollowed me. This is my wife's uncle. I'm great friends with him. I love this man. He unfollowed me. But then I had to realize I don't care, because he's not my target audience right now. And I'm okay with that. He doesn't want the type of content I'm consuming. So it doesn't matter if people unfollow you at the start. Go all in talking to your audience, and don't worry about the people who are not your audience. Seth Godin says in his book, This Is Marketing, he says, it's not for them. That's what you have to think all the time. If you give a piece of content, and even if somebody gives you bad comments on it, you have to think it's not for them. I've had people do that on a few of my posts. They say, oh, this doesn't make any sense, or they don't like this, my 1 degree rule of dress post. And I had some comments on that, kind of making jokes about it and stuff. And I was like, you know what? It's not for them. And I moved on. No big deal. So that's something important. Talk to your audience. Don't worry about everybody else. Talk to your audience. Don't worry about everybody else. I just emphasize it twice. Okay.
Awesome. Michael, I feel like let's just continue with the webinar presentation, so that, we have already crossed our time limit. So let's just finish with the webinar presentation, then we can take more questions.
Okay, sound good.
Good.
I could talk for hours, as you probably can see. And if you have questions, I do have time after we're done with the presentation. So, okay, we're going to generate specific ideas, specific content ideas. So you take that long form content and you go and you parse through it and extract different ideas. So here, this little segment could be a social post, a quote. This could be a data infographic. This piece could be expanded into a white paper subtopic. So you can see the long form content on the right, and then the short form content the snackable content that we're expanding from. Then you define the action for each piece of content. Like, this is a go piece of content. This is a buy or a no piece of content. And then this is a buy piece of content. So going back to those micro moments, and this would be also a go. And then you make it easy for the user to take action. So if you give an infographic that is a no piece of content, the next step is for them to go to the long form content. So know what that is. What do you want the action to be? And then you go here, you have the infographic and data. You could go from the buy over to an e-commerce website. So you're trying to drive them there. And fewer choices yields more action. This is something hugely important. You don't want to give them 5 links. You want to give them 1 link. This is a Facebook post from Domino's Pizza, and it has 1 link on it. Click to learn more, and it goes to a sign-up page for their reward point program. And then finally here, you create custom snackable content. So I'm going to show you what we did for Google. This is a little 1-minute sizzle reel of our work that we did for Google based on the long form content we were extracting for them. And we broke it into social posts, to infographics, to little white papers that were downloadable, a few downloadable little ebooks. And we broke all their long form content into all these different little pieces. And it was very successful for them. Okay, so that's a little sizzle reel of the work that we did for them. I'm going to skip this QA section, and I'm going to skip the measure and adjust. You can see these data points if you download my presentation here. I'll give you a link here in a minute on that. And then I'm going to go into just some final key takeaways on this. The first one is that it works. Like I said, 750 followers grew to 35,000 plus followers. Over 120 posts in 3.5 months' time, and that was the growth, and it's growing exponentially as it goes, my Instagram. So this process works. This is exactly what I've been doing for creating content for my Instagram. Here are the key takeaways. The first is be smart with the first 8 seconds. Remember that your human has a less attention span than a goldfish. Number 2, create content based on intention. The know, go, do, and buy micro moments. So what is the intention of the content, and what are you trying to do? What are you trying to get the user to do as an action? Create content based on time. So 1 to 30 second piece of content, 1 to 3 minute, 4 to 7, 15 minute plus. And if you look at my Instagram and dissect that, you can see that I'm using this methodology. You can see that most of my content is either in the small, medium, or large bucket. I don't have a lot of extra large content on my Instagram. I do on my YouTube channel. But you'll see some videos are 4 to 7 minutes. Some of my micro blogs are 4 to 7 minutes. Some of my posts are 1 to 30 second little posts. I just posted one today. That was a little 90-second video, so it was a medium. And then create content that entices the user to take the next step. And then the final takeaway is to measure the moments and connect the dots between content and action. So that's how you maximize micro moments. Here is the link to download my presentation, michaeljanda.com/designhill. And you can just put in your email address, and then the PDF will get emailed over to you. And then feel free to connect with me on all social channels. @morejanda is my handle on every social platform. So do a search and find me. Again, my biggest content push is on Instagram. So if you follow me anywhere, that's probably the best place. And thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Designhill, for organizing this webinar. It's been fun. I hope that people got some value out of this content. Do we have time to answer a few more questions?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I'll do this
Okay.
one here. Let me just jump on a few. Who designed the cover of your book, Burn Your Portfolio? I designed the cover and I designed the whole book. I did use one of my illustrators at my agency to do the illustrations. His name was Nick Jarvis, and he did a great job. But it was my design and my creative direction, and I'm so I'm very proud of that book and how it all turned out. I'm just gonna jump in and do a lot of just kind of answer a lot of questions really fast. Do you boost posts on Instagram? Is it necessary? When I had 750 followers, I did boost a few posts. It was cheap. It got, I don't know if it got much engagement off of it. I did get more views, but I don't know if I got any followers or anything, but I did get more views. At that phase, I was just like, I got to try and get some traction on this content. So I would boost a post for $10 for a 24-hour period just to make sure it got some circulation. But I don't do any of that now. Once I started getting momentum on growth, I didn't do any more post boosting on there. And I probably only did it 3 or 4 times for that. I will say the last comment on boosting posts, if you are going to spend money on trying to market your content, do it that way. Don't buy robot followers. Boost a post. Use Instagram and Facebook's, YouTube. Use their real advertising method to get more engagement. Don't do it from some third party trying to create fake engagement. Let's see. How can I, let's see. Okay, here's one. Please give 3 to 5 examples of valuable content. I'm not sure when this came in. It looks like 42 minutes ago. So it may be already answered in my breakdown where I showed a lot of different content from a lot of big brands. So I would say all of those pieces are valuable content. Valuable content for me is content that helps somebody in their life. So that for me is valuable content. I give them a system that they can implement into their business. I give them, 2 days ago, I did the ultimate niche finding process, and it had a lot of great engagement. Now people can use that system and apply it into their business. So that has a lot of value to them. Something that helps them in some way is valuable content. But it can be, entertainment can be valuable content too. You can see like that BMW movie that they created. That was valuable content. It gives somebody an escape from their normal life, and it's a piece of free entertainment for them. So there are a lot of different ways to define valuable content. All right, let me answer. I'm a starter. Should I need to follow more people on Instagram to boost my marketing? Yes, that's the answer. That's one of the early secrets that people do is they do the follow, unfollow. So you go and follow a whole bunch of people, and then you go and you unfollow them the next day. And that's a technique that can work to get some initial traction. I'm not a big fan of that. I lose probably 30 or 40 followers every day because they're doing that. They're following my account, hoping that I follow them back, or people who follow me follow them. And if they don't, then they unfollow me, because everybody wants to have 36,000 followers and like them following 10 people. That's like everybody's dream. I don't worry so much about that. If you're just doing it the right way, give good content, share good content, and then let it happen. And if you only have 1,000 tried and true dedicated fans who love what you're doing, that's plenty to make a business. So don't worry so much about getting, everybody wants the 100,000 person account. Find the 1,000 that will buy anything that you have, and that is of huge value to you. Okay. Here's
Cool.
one.
Michael, I have just one last question that we were also discussing about this earlier. We do have this topic of how you actually grow your brand using social media, but then it is also important for a person or anyone who's starting his business, or let's say any company, self growth. I think so. And for self growth, people have usually answered this vision that every person should have a vision to, to
Yeah.
grow more and to bring success. What are your thoughts about this? And because most people have also asked initially in this webinar that how do you start your career when you are fresh in this digital marketing career or anything? But then obviously with the vision, what are your suggestions on this?
Yeah. So how do you establish a vision for your career? It's a great question. I have two answers to that. Answer number one is when you're young and you don't know, find somebody who inspires you in your business career path. It may be a designer, it may be a an entrepreneur, it could be somebody who inspires you, and then model them. What is it? Dissect it. Go, if you look at it and say, okay, from a design standpoint, everybody loves Draplin. His design style is awesome. And he gives away every secret on how he does it. He goes junking and, does all this stuff. You may be a designer who loves that style. Well, start by following what he did, building your own brand the way that he did, going and using the systems and processes that he's shared on how to do that, and follow that path until you start to see what your own unique version of that might be. So, modeling somebody else. Pick a 1, 2, or 3 people who inspire you, and then go and try and dissect their career journey and learn the way that they did it, and then model that. Follow those steps. That's answer number one on how you can kind of create a vision. I love the idea of a vision board. This is a process where you take a whiteboard and you go and you take pictures of what your dream might be. It could be a car you want to buy. It could be an agency you want to have. Like what does the studio space look like? What is the how many employees do you have? What does your logo look like? What is the big picture idea? And I did this at the start of my agency. I started looking at all these agencies that I wanted to become. And I would look at their studio space on pictures and things, and they all had glass walls and whiteboard walls and all kinds of things. And over time, my agency grew, and I purchased a space and I designed my space, and it had, you saw the video at the start, it had glass walls, and it had a giant blackboard wall, and it had a whole whiteboard room where floor to ceiling, the paint was whiteboard paint, and you could write anywhere and brainstorm in that room. Ping pong table and foosball table and wood floors. I mean, it was everything that I had dreamed of having, but it all came from this vision board that I had established early in my agency when I was still working in my basement. So creating that vision by modeling others and creating a vision board those are very valuable tools to help you kind of try and visualize what you're trying to do. The other thing I would say about establishing a vision is that it is hard to see. What I've found in my career is that you're climbing mountains in your career, and oftentimes you can't see the next place you want to climb until you get to the top of the mountain that you're on. And then when you get there, now all of a sudden your vision is bigger. You can see farther, and you can see, oh, you know what? There's another mountain back here. I want to go and climb that mountain next. And you can go and say, okay, now my vision's expanded. So don't limit your vision. Pick a vision for the top of this first mountain, but know that when you get to the top of that one, your vision is going to expand, and you're going to see new things that can come to you in the future, and new mountains to climb. And I've found that many times in my career. Okay, hopefully that gives you some things. Yeah.
Right. So I guess we have answered most of the questions, and as per our polls, many people are quite satisfied. Okay, so Michael, how to create engaging content and grow your brand using social media? Top 3 points to remember.
Top 3 points. Start with the long form content. And then break it into these smaller categories, these snackable pieces, and the hook matters so much. And I'm going to give you the fourth point: give value. Don't worry about your audience so much as like your audience size. Give value to the people you have. If you have 30 followers, give something valuable to your 30 followers, and they'll share it, and you'll grow over time. The other thing, I think this is a big takeaway: be patient. It takes time for most accounts to grow. So be patient, take your time. Don't worry about it so much. Just be consistent and patient. Okay, that was more than 3 takeaways, but all those are important.
Oh, everyone loved it. So, guys, thanks for joining us today. It was great to have this highly informative and factual session with Michael. Stay connected with Designhill, explore our website. Do let us know what's the next topic you want us to conduct webinar, and kindly share your feedback too, because that's what we feed on. For any designing services requirement, stay connected to Designhill. Here's the link. Just enter. Awesome. Michael, any final words from your side?
No, thank you so much. And again, feel free to connect with me on social media @morejanda. I'm happy to connect, and I answer a lot of direct messages, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm trying to help a lot of people. Be patient. If it takes me a while, I get a lot of messages, but I try and get back to everybody. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you got some value out of this.
Awesome. Guys, we'll be sharing the replay of this webinar with each and every one of you. You'll get an email from Designhill. You'll also get this updated video on YouTube. And lastly, I guess there's nothing left to explain more. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, see ya.